Hello, Cleveland Concoction, or should I say virtual Cleveland Concoction 2020. My name is Faryl, and what a lovely day for the end of society as we know it. Now, today I'm going to be reading an excerpt from my new horror novel, Mothmaw, which came out just last month. It is a fractured fairy tale on the surface and a completely broken fairy tale underneath. So let's get right to it, shall we? So where's Princess Mothmaw? Aaron asked, turning back to Sunshield. Is she here too? She's late, Sunshield grumbled. For all I know, she hasn't even activated the device yet. I apologize, he added, turning to Mama and Papa. I told her to be on her absolute best behavior. She's still not taking this as seriously as she should. We might be here for a while. Before Aaron could say anything, he heard a booming voice coming from the entry hall. Move it, meatbag! There she is. This wasn't the voice of a fair and kind young woman. It was a low, guttural growl, barely discernible as a woman's voice at all, that filled his ears and rattled his mind to the point of nausea. A spike of anxiety stabbed through him. Was this what he was going to hear for the rest of his life? The voice of death, the voice of destruction? And then the doors burst open. She stood in the open doorway, panting as if she'd pushed the very mountains out of her path. Aaron paled. She was unnaturally tall, almost a head taller than he was, and freakishly muscular. She was translucent, dark-skinned, and dark-haired like Ambertread and her father, but her hair fell to her chest in thick, violent curls, under what Aaron could only describe as a headdress made from a bear-sized tarantula, the spider's eyes gazing sightlessly above the woman's hardened, battle-worn face. She wore metallic snakeskin up her arms, across her shoulders, and down her legs, with the unfortunate snake's head acting as a gauntlet on her left hand. Her chest was covered in the tarantula's dark hair and skin, and the thick, hairy legs wrapped around it made for an impenetrable breastplate. A myriad of weapons adorned her body, knives of all shapes and sizes, a bow and overstuffed quiver, a pair of swords as big as Aaron himself, sheathed and slung across her back. Her eyes were cold, but they still held a fire that nonchalantly burned its way into Aaron's memory. Sorry I'm late, that awful voice said when the woman entered the room and stood beside the rest of her family. I found a fox and thought it'd be a prime opportunity to get some exercise as well as some lunch. She must have noticed her father glaring at her because she added, I would have brought some to share as a peacetime offering, but you said the humans don't like that, and it'll scare them. You're Princess Mothmaw? Aaron asked, his voice breaking. It was only then that the woman paid attention to the humans in the room. Commander Mothmaw, champion of Rockshell, head of her army, conqueror of men and beasts, and wielder of the Flower Guardian Master Sword, Porcherador. Get it right. Aaron's heart dropped into his gut. It's a loose translation, Sunshield groaned through his fingers, his projection flushing deep crimson. We have no word for princess in our language, only queen and young queen. He sighed, lowering his hands from his burning face. But Mothmaw is correct. She is commander first and foremost. Or at least she was until she officially retired right before we left. She ignored her father. I assume you are Aaron? Yes. Prince Aaron of Duderan. A pleasure. He tried to keep his voice from quivering, but only half succeeded. He bowed, just as Mama taught him to bow to any other woman. She didn't curtsy, but only growled. A pleasure. I don't see why you're so surprised, Sunshield said, although he sounded like he knew exactly why. I tried to warn you, but you said your culture only accepts the eldest children for sacrifices. Sacrifices? Aaron blurted. What on earth were they planning? The marriage, Mama corrected, visibly nervous. That's what he means. And naturally, Sunshield continued, we assumed that meant the current heir, since, well, there is no eldest. Mothmaw approached Aaron, examining him carefully. She stood over him, so close that he could see what was floating, or rather flying, inside the translucent projection. A bug, one of the biggest he had ever seen, with a long plaited tail and rapidly buzzing wings. Bile churned in his stomach, and he fought the urge to jerk away. He fought the urge to rush out of the hall and never come back in, to lock himself in his room until he was sure they left, but he stayed put because it was the polite thing to do when guests were over. But still, they'd been right to disguise themselves. Yuck. As you can see, we had another perfectly good daughter to volunteer, Sunshield continued, especially since the one we consider our eldest is currently employed. But in our negotiations, you insisted it had to be the eldest, so you get what you get, good luck, and I told you so, she's your problem now. His last sentence came out as a sigh of relief, as if he'd been waiting years to say that. Mothmaw leaned closer, the projection starting to go through Aaron's body. He could almost hear her smelling him. This was the exact opposite of what he wanted. Ambertread, the woman, the bug named Ambertread, that was who he wanted. He would be happy with Ambertread. Even if she was a bug, he would love her all the same. He could learn to love a bug like her if there was only a way. That's it? That's the best you have to offer? Mothmaw scoffed at his parents before turning back to him. You ever killed anyone? What? No! Aaron exclaimed, before noticing that Mothmaw looked confused. He looked over his shoulder at his parents, but their expressions were fixed and pleasant. How about animals? No! No animals, nothing! I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't like hurting things. It's bad. This was a mistake, Sunshield mumbled, his crimson face covered once again by his translucent hands. Please, Mothmaw, what is your problem? I'm only making conversation, Mothmaw insisted. What's the harm in getting to know him? She looked to Aaron, scowling. God, you're lame. If you think I should have actually killed someone, all good warriors have. Mothmaw, will you please? I'm not a warrior. Well, excuse me, you don't have to be so defensive. Maybe you're the one who should be called princess. What is that supposed to... Mothmaw, that's enough. She turned to her father. Will you shut up? I told you we're having a conversation. If I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this human, I have to know at least something about him in the hopes that he becomes less disappointing. Excuse me, Aaron piped up. I'm right here, and I can hear everything you're saying. Mothmaw whirled on him. Good. Then I don't have to repeat it. So Mothmaw is available on Amazon in both ebook and paperback form. Ebook is, I think, $2.99. I'll have to double check on that, but the paperback is $14.99 if you want to order it on Amazon or through us directly. My social media is Facebook, Faryl1, Farylone. Twitter and Instagram is Faryl's Lair, FARYLSLAIR. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or want to request an ARC copy of either this or Question Mark, which was my last book. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and happy concoction.